Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Another Game 7 on the docket here for Sunday. So we got to go through Houston and the Dubs. They're going to be back in Houston as the Rockets are back home trying to win 3 in a row to win this series. We're going to take a look at some matchup stuff, insights that we can take away from Game 6. It was kind of weird in a lot of ways. And if we are going to take away anything from the Game 7 that we're currently watching, as it's Saturday and the Clippers are catching a drubbing from the Nuggets right now, I don't know how Game 7s are going to go all the time, but I think this one will be a little bit closer, hoping so. So let's go through everything we got. Give this video a like, and let's jump right into it. Here's what I'm looking at for Game 7. Starting with the lineup for the Dubs, we saw GP2 all of a sudden starting for Pods. Brandon Pajemski coming in to guard Fred VanVleet. I actually thought he was originally coming in to guard Jalen Green because we've seen Jalen Green get going early. We'll talk about that here with player props in a minute. So I thought maybe they would bring GP2 in to guard him early in the game, whereas normally you see him guard JG later in the game. No, it was to try to stop Fred VanVleet. And back to the drawing board on that one because it did not work. Not only did GB2 not stop Fred VanVleet, he's obviously now not nearly the offensive player that Brandon Pajemski is, both from a scoring, three-point shooting especially, and then also from a playmaking standpoint, not the same player. And if he's not stopping Fred VanVleet, then he should not be out there for Brandon Pajemski. That's one man's opinion, but we'll see how he starts this next game, and it's going to be something that we probably need to wait for. If you're going to try to get a bet down on a few different guys for the Dubs, mostly one of the 3 guards that are going to be in that rotation that we'll go through here in a minute, got to be careful to see who's starting. I really believe that the Brandon Pajemski not starting thing threw off his game in Game 6 there. But Fred, like we said, Fred VanVleet, last 2 here. Well, this is the last game. He's at 29 points, 8 boards, 8 assists, 6 for 9 from 3. That was in the last game. And in the last 2, we know what he's done now as his 3-point stuff is insane, right? We're looking at about like 14 for 20 from 3. And if you look at his last 23 shots from 3, I believe he's 16 for 23. He's absolutely on one right now. I don't know if I want to take him to slow down or not, but we'll look at his player props in a second. The Steven Adams stuff, huge, right? We talk about the double bigs here in the playoffs. Really big topic of conversation this postseason because you've got like the double big in OKC. You've got the double big now here in Houston as well. Steven Adams got 31 minutes in this last game, was a plus 15 in that Game 6 there. And if you look at Adams and Şengün, who make up that double big lineup for the Rockets, now in the postseason as a whole in 6 games, a plus 30 net rating means that they're plus 30 per 100 possessions when they're actually on the floor together. It's second best, but as far as 2 guys who have the amount of minutes that they have on the floor together, far and away the best, right? There's a couple weird little lineups where like Şengün and Eason are on the floor for like 2 minutes together and they have a positive net rating, but this is the one that is the most legit because of how much they're playing together. That's probably going to come into play here in Game 7 again. So let's get into this matchup stuff. We know the Rockets are going to start the same way they always do. VanVleet, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, Amen, and Şengün. On the other side, this was what we were just talking about. Gary Payton, late add to the starting lineup. He's out there to guard Fred VanVleet. Doesn't do a great job. Fred had like 8 points in the first quarter. Buddy Hield is then on Jalen Green, giving Green a decent matchup in Q1, much better than when he has to face Payton at other times throughout the game. Steph is going to be on Dillon Brooks, which Dillon Brooks tries to take advantage of. Most often in the first quarter, he has a slightly longer leash on offense, but usually the problem with him scoring later in the game is he's at 4 fouls in the third quarter, sometimes 5. That's why he saw barely any minutes in Game 6. Jimmy on Amen, and then Draymond on Şengün, and that's probably the most important matchup of the series is Draymond on Şengün, who has killed and really controlled the game on offense in the last 2. Depending on how the Dubs start, that's why I've got the asterisks next to Hield and Gary Payton II. This is what it looked like in the last game. Steph, Buddy, Gary Payton, Jimmy, and Draymond. Now, the Hield stuff, I've got an asterisk next to his name because Moses Moody played very well in this last game, and we saw that start in garbage time, basically, of Game 5, where they got blown the hell out, and he was a big part of the scoring that helped them get back into the game within like 11, 13 points with like just a few minutes left to play. So it could be Moody out there. We saw him for more minutes in this last game than Buddy, and we might see that again regardless of if Buddy starts. I would still probably look for Moody, especially because what he brings on defense is better than what Buddy brings. Gary Payton, what he brings is the best defense on a small guard or a wing player, a perimeter player in general. Wasn't the case with this last game against Fred. Not sure yet how Steve Kerr is going to start this game, and if he's going to keep Payton out there, go back to Pods, bring in Moody. He has options. There's 2 guys on the bench in Pods and Moody that could potentially start in this game. So again, I would say wait to any of those 4 guys, Buddy, Gary Payton, Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody. I'd probably be waiting to get a bet down, but if you don't have the patience for that, I think right now where Moses Moody's props are is the best look. let's jump into that after we take a quick look at Game 7 stuff. Really, I wanted to show you Steph in Game 7. He's a monster. 3-2 in his career, 32.6 points per game, 6 boards, 7 dimes per game in the playoffs, Game 7 of any series. Pretty ridiculous, right? Because a lot of times you'll see guys in their first Game 7 or couple Game 7s maybe not play that well and not have more than 30 points per game on average in these games. And granted, he was helped out by like the 50 piece that he played against the Kings a couple seasons ago in the first round. Definitely helped his averages, but the fact that he's still above 32.5 is pretty wild. So don't fade Steph. I mean, look, I know that this is a hard defense to score against. They're probably going to try to limit 30 footers as much as one can possibly do that. Because even if you have 3 guys, a step back 32 footer, there's only so much you can do, right? Especially against Steph Curry. So I'm not going to fade him. I think his props are probably worth an over just based on the fact that it's Steph. But again, terrible matchup for him. And then there's Jimmy, who has 4 total Game 7s in his career, but I'm looking at the ones where he played with Miami and both against Boston, but he had like a couple with Chicago, not really looking at those when he wasn't nearly the player that he is today or the level of involvement that he had for the offense with the Bulls versus when he was the offense for Miami. And in those games, 1-1, 31.5 points per game, 8 boards, 3.5 dimes. One game he had just 1 dime against them. That was back in like 22 when they lost at the end of May there in the conference finals. And then they got their revenge, as we know, won the next one before losing to Denver. So Jimmy, another big time player, obviously a couple games in a row, but I mean, even last game, got over his PRA. Since every game that he's healthy, ready to go, he's playoff Jimmy. So again, would not be fading Jimmy by any means. His props are high because the books are on to this. Obviously, they have this same information as well. As always, going to be using Props Madness on the show to share my screen and show you guys what I'm going through. If you do want to jump into the platform, use promo code LYB. That'll get you 25% off your first month. Also gets you 7 free days of a trial on this platform here. So I'm going to go through things here and just kind of work my way down. But I will say I have a favorite bet that I'll tell you about. This one, Alpi Şengün. I mean, the thing for Alperen, it's playoff time, man. So things are different, right? Like a lot of times when we look at Props Madness, we use a lot of these different filters to be like, well, how does he play against a team with this type of defense and who doesn't defend the paint well and whatever. This is the playoffs. Like we know who he's going up against. It's the same team he's been going up against for 6 games. I say that because I know a couple people were like, how come you don't give the same information on Props Madness that you have been during the regular season? Because it's not the regular season, it's the playoffs, right? And that's what I'm much more concerned with rather than, well, I know how the Dubs play, but even all the stuff they did during the regular season, a lot different when you get to the postseason and you have one specific game plan against the team you play against day in and day out. And their game plan for Alperen Şengün has really just been throw Draymond Green at him. And the response from the Rockets has been get Alpi Şengün in the pick and roll so that he has the ball in his hands and he can switch and get Draymond off of him, right? That's a big part of all this. And most of the reason I like Alpi for the bet that I'm looking at here, I'm probably just putting together a nice parlay or I'm going points and rebounds. But the points at like 20, the rebounds at 10, and the assists at 5, he's now done it in 3 of these games, so half the time he's doing it, but the touches for him are really what I see, and Jalen Green's usage has continued to drop throughout the series. So as a result, you see his assists going up, despite not having a ton of potential assists. He's at 8.5 in the series, but if you kind of dumb this down to the last, let me get this to like the last 3 games here, when you see the potential assists are at 7.7, but the touches for him in this game are at like 47 per game. He's leading the team in front court touches by a wide margin. He has like 20 more per game than Fred VanVleet in the series, like 30 more per game than Jalen Green. He's just the guy with the ball in his hands consistently. He's one of the only guys that we know Ime Udoka trusts on offense. So I think you take the 5 assists, the 10 boards, the 20 points, something fishy like that still gets you about 3-1 on some of these books. If you can't get that for close to 3-1, points and rebounds is what I prefer, mostly because I do think that with the double big lineup, he's actually been the one who has benefited the most from the double big lineup. If you look at some of these rebounding games, the amount of minutes that he and Steven Adams played in this game right here was actually fewer than the other ones, right? They only played I think 6-7 minutes together in this game at the most, because Steven Adams only had 17 minutes here in game 5. Game 6, Steven Adams comes out for 31 minutes. In that time, Alpi Şengün ends up with 24 rebound chances, in part because it's him versus Draymond and then 3 Warriors players trying to hold Steven Adams down. And that's a big part of why Steven Adams has so many rebound chances. I'll pull him up real quick, but not that many rebounds, right? If you look at him on the boards in this series, look at his rebounds, nowhere near 7.5 that he needs to go over. But if you look at his rebound chances, they're still super high, right? They're at 13. In this game, he had 16 rebound chances in 31 minutes, but only 5 boards, in part because when he was about to grab a couple rebounds, there's 4 dudes hanging on his arms. So there's a foul call, which negates any boards. For Alperen Şengün, when he's going up one-on-one with Draymond, getting a lot of rebound chances. So I think that the points and rebounds are the best way to play him if you don't want to put together any kind of parlay and just want to put straight bets together for Alperen Şengün. Here's my take on Fred VanVleet. I'm certainly not going to fade him, right? The shot attempts always stay 13 to 14. It's absolutely wild. Last game he's had 13, but here's the thing: 9 for 9 from the free throw line. And he's been very aggressive getting in the paint. He's the only other guy besides Alperen Şengün that I trust to take an over on pretty much anything for the whole game for the Rockets. It's going to be choppy. It's going to continue to be probably low scoring, pretty slow, other than Amin Thompson making the pace go fast. But game 7, everybody's going to tighten up there once you get to the fourth quarter, especially. And we might be going under on the fourth quarter just as a bet because of how I think everyone's going to tighten up, maybe other than Steph Curry. But the game slows down. Points for Fred, though, they're based on field goal attempts. So I'm going to give him a few more field goal attempts than the 13 it says here because of the 9 for 9 free throws. That probably means he probably had about 4 or 5 shot attempts taken away because he went to the line, right? You don't get the foul on a foul when you're shooting. You don't get the field goal attempt listed against you. Field goals in this one, 13. Went to the line 6 times, probably 3-4 shots there that got taken away. So again, we're at 16 to 17 shots. This one, he just shot a ridiculous percentage, 8 for 12 from 3. And then in this one, 14 shots, right? But he even has a game in the first game where he took 19. And I think that's what we're going to see. Jalen Green doesn't seem to want it when it comes to the second half, when it comes to these key moments at the end of the shot clock. Definitely not ready for the moment nearly as much as Fred, who's like, don't worry, I got this. I'm going to keep going, right, with this shooting. So I think Fred's going to just be putting the shots up no matter what. He's the only other guy besides Alperen Şengün, who we just talked about, who has the ball enough in his hands enough to really feel like you can take him on the over. And even with Gary Payton Jr. on him in this last game, which was sort of a switch up, where normally Gary Payton Jr. is guarding Jalen Green. In that last one, Steve Kerr wanted Fred VanVleet to be the guy they focused on. Still didn't work. So I'm still going to go back to Fred. I think you're probably just looking at 20 plus points for him, or even just a clean over on 16.5. All the stats before you be damned. 16 to 17 field goal attempts for Fred means I'm good on him going over. One more look here for the Rockets, and that's Jalen Green. And that's what we did in this last game, which was go over on his first quarter points. And hopefully we can still get this around flat or so. 4.5, you start to lose me, but 3.5 for Jalen Green is 2 shots, and I can't get away from that, right? So I'm looking at him for just the way that they try to get him going. Talked about this with the folks in the VIP. He's over in 5 of 6 this series, in part because he's looking at 5 field goal attempts, 3 with a free throw, 2 with 2 free throws, 3 with a free throw. 2 for 3 with a free throw attempt, or just 1 for 3 making your 1 free throw, and he's an amazing, one of the best free throw shooters in the league. I'm going to feel good about that, right? 9 minutes, 7 minutes, 9 minutes. It's the attempts when he's out there. They definitely want to test him out early, see if he's got it going, to kind of see what the tone is going to be for Jalen Green for the game. He's such a shooter who's reliant on precision and rhythm that when he gets thrown off, he's done, and he kind of just checks out mentally, and then his defense suffers, and then he finds himself on the bench. So the first quarter, we're going to take that gamble that they're going to keep feeding him, and then he can get 2 buckets or a couple free throws in a bucket in the 7 to 9 minutes that we expect him to be on the court. As far as Steph goes, I do like him on the points. I'm not going to fade him, like I said. Threes, 4.5. I mean, the points and threes to me pretty synonymous. Like the points are safer, but I don't know that he's getting too many 27-point games without getting 5 threes. It's a big part of his whole thing, obviously. And they're not giving foul calls, especially to a guy like Steph. That's one man's opinion again. But if you look at the games where he went over on the points, 1, 3, and 6, all of that is at the same time him getting 5 threes. So you see the correlation there, right? I would be taking the over on the points. It's not a bet that I really want any part of because of the way that this defense is just selling out on him. But I'm not fading Steph Curry in game 7. There's no way I'm doing it. If you want a little easy parlay, it's like 25 points and 5+ boards. I love the 5+ rebounds for him. 7 boards on 12 rebound chances. This is what he does against this team if you've been following along at all. On the 4.5, right? If we dumb this down just to 1, looks like a lot better hit rate. He's averaging 4.5, but the rebound chances go up against this squad. 8.2 as a whole. If you look at the playoffs when he's playing massive minutes, this is where all the overs come in, and he's at 9.3 rebound chances per game. To get 5, it's something he's been doing consistently. A big reason is he's getting easy rebound chances. He's guarding guys off ball like Dylan Brooks, and then he's when somebody else is normally shooting, then he's able to go in and get a defensive rebound, especially the long ones that come to him. And he's not a bad rebounder for somebody his size when in terms of finding where the ball is going to come off the rim and going and getting it, Dennis Rodman style. So I think 20 and 5 on the boards is a good look. If you like the rebounds and assists at 10.5, I would make sure you're getting like nothing worse than -125. Assists aren't a terrible play, but in this one we saw 10 potentials. My problem would be if his teammates aren't hitting like they were in the last game, then we're in trouble. And role players on the road, kind of tough. I think he's going to put the game in his hands in terms of trying to get a shot off as often as he can. And then I'm waiting on everything else. The only other guy I'd put a bet on is playoff Jimmy. But again, 36.5 PRA is so high that if you just want to bank on playoff Jimmy, go for it. I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. I think there's other ways to spend my money here. I just want to see, is Pods going to start? Is Moody going to start? Is Hield going to start? Is Gary Payton going to start? 2 of those 4 guys are going to start. I just don't know exactly which ones yet. I would bank on Kerr going back to what he did in game 6, but I don't think it worked. So I'd hope he'd make an adjustment. And until then, I'm not going to touch any of those guys, or even Draymond probably, although I'd be leaning under for him. And that is all the time I have for y'all in this one. Definitely make sure to subscribe. Going to be coming back. Might be missing the Cavs and Pacers game. Need like a 20-hour break at the most. And then we're right back to it for everything on Monday. So stay tuned. Make sure you sub and hit the notifications on there so you don't miss any of the stuff we're bringing you. And until I see y'all next, happy betting.